Hello, guys, and welcome to Around the Scene, presented to you by Playing with Rockets. I'm your host, Ryan, and joining me, as always, is Daddy Perino. How are you doing today, man?
I am doing great. Thank you for asking, Ryan. It is another wonderful weekday afternoon, hanging out, just doing things, trying to farm my way into RLCS, just adding Psyonix, seeing if we can do it.
Yeah, I saw that tweet. I was like, if it's that easy to get into RLCS, then, honestly, props to him for figuring that out.
Let me tell you, work has been pretty rough for me this week, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better anytime soon. So please rescue me, Psyonix, if you're listening. Yeah. I'm begging. I will go tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what you're telling me. You got a lot on your plate, it sounds like. But hey, at least you get to be here and talk about Rocket League with me, and we can have a good time with that.
It's the best part of my week, Ryan.
And so, guys, we are going to be dropping new episodes every single Thursday for you to get your fix on all things Rocket League. If you like this, be sure to give us a follow on Twitch, YouTube, your podcast service of choice, or consider heading on over to our Twitch and giving us a subscription if you feel so inclined. You can follow us on Twitch and everything. That's going to be at PWR_leagues. You can also mention us, comment to us on Twitter with that same handle. That is the only way currently for you to be a part of the show. Just throw your questions, comments, things like that over there, and we will be sure to discuss them on the broadcast. But right now, we are recording on Tuesdays for every show. I don't know why. I had like a brain fart. I couldn't think. But we're recording every Tuesdays, and the shows go live on Thursdays. This gives us a little more leeway to try and prepare the show, put it together nicely. We've now done one episode with this new kind of workflow, and we feel like it works pretty well, and it sounds way better in our opinion. We hope that you guys agree on that. So, again, if we miss anything, between now and Thursday, it's just kind of the nature of the beast. There's always going to be something we end up missing.
Yeah, we can't be perfect. I will say...
We have to be perfect, though.
Well, we have to be as close to perfect as we can attain. That's always the goal, Ryan.
Yeah. But, guys, we are just going to jump on into the show now. And today is going to be a lot more discussion-heavy show, just because there's really not a whole lot that happened this past week. But we do have 2 items here in our news segment, so let's roll right on into it, shall we?
Lead the way, brother. Lead the way.
All right. So our first bit of news is the Samsung Odyssey League has been announced, and it is a 25,000 euro. I can't say dollar. It's euro prize pool, and of course, it is for the EU region. This is a pretty cool one, Perino. The open qualifiers, they are from the 23rd of July until August 2nd, and then the regional finals are from the 7th of August to August 15th. And the European finals are 27th of August to August 29th. So there's a lot that goes on with this, but they have a bunch of different deadlines based on regions. So Austria and Switzerland, Benelux, France, Germany, Italy, Iberia, Spain, and Portugal, Nordics, Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Poland, the rest of Europe. Full list of countries is on their website, and then United Kingdom and Ireland. So there's just a whole lot that's going on with this, but it's pretty exciting, honestly, to see Samsung hosting such a big name tournament like this.
I have a question because I haven't done any homework this week. Is this similar to like the Intel World Open then, where it's by country, or the qualifier is just sort of whatever?
It seems like they're going for that route. So here's what their post says that they made. So it says, welcome to the Samsung Odyssey League. Do you have what it takes to compete in a high-octane Rocket League tournament for 25,000 euro? If you do, this is how it works. Open qualifiers from 23rd of July to 2nd of August. 10 regions compete in open qualifiers. The top 8 teams make it to the regional finals. Every team must have 2 players from the competing region, and the third can be anyone from Europe. For example, player 1 is from Iceland, player 2 is from Norway, and player 3 is from Spain. The team could not compete in the Nordics qualifier. or the team could compete in the Nordics qualifier. My apologies. And the regional finals, the 7th of August to August 15th, the top 8 teams of each region will battle it out in the regional finals. One team will make it to the European finals. Then the European finals from the 27th of August to 29th of August. The winners of the regional finals will compete in the European finals. 2 groups of 5 will decide the top 4 bracket, where best of Europe will be decided. So it's essentially Intel World Open without the world, and then without Africa and Middle East, basically.
Huh. Yeah, I think it makes it a bit more of a competitive event. You know, when we talked about it last week, you know, with the Intel World Open, there was a lot of issues with, you know, certain regions not being able to perform to the highest level, and, you know, ping issues and whatnot. So I think the EU teams will have it a little bit better when they're more condensed. They can, you know, have a bit more of a level playing ground, and I think it'll be fun. You know, always like seeing big brands coming into the game. That's always it's always the big draw. You know, Samsung obviously leading the charge there, so kudos to them. Again, we enjoy seeing strong sponsored events. The more of those, the better.
Yeah, honestly, that's really the long and short of it. Is just cool to see more big names getting into Rocket League. I mean, we've already got, you know, Verizon. We had, you know, Lamborghini, Ford. Now we got Samsung kind of hopping into it. And of course, those other ones were for RLCS and stuff. But I think it would be really cool to see, because all those ones I named actually, I think, were just for North America tournaments in RLCS. So it'd be cool to see like Samsung come back again for RLCS and sponsor an EU event that way as well. But honestly, it's just cool. You know, it shows that in terms of the sponsorship world of things, brands are starting to recognize and see the power that Rocket League can have for them. And good news all around, honestly. I mean, I'm sad that, you know, it's just for EU, but at the same time, you know, North America, we get plenty of stuff for us, so can't complain.
Yeah, I was just about to say the exact same thing. I'm sure all of our European listeners are saying, you guys only talk about the NA tournaments though, so give one for us. So yeah, all right, we'll let you have this one.
So as this one kind of unfolds, we'll try to, you know, follow it a bit and keep you guys up to date on how it all pans out. Honestly, until the regional finals complete, though, there's probably not too much purpose in us, you know, kind of following it week in, week out, just because there's going to, down at least in the open qualifiers, there's so many teams that just people don't know. And then even in the regional finals, there's still going to be a lot of players that people just have no clue who they are. But I think at that point we could maybe start talking about it a bit. So we'll try to keep up to date with that and let you guys kind of know how that one's going as it unfolds. You can also, you know, go check them out. Let me see where their stream is, if I can pull it up. It is going to be interesting. The Twitch channel that is linked is Fanta Bob Show. Interesting. F-A-N, like Fanta is in the drink, and Bob Show, B-O-B Show. All one word. That's the broadcast. You can also head on over to the Rocket League subreddit, RL Esports subreddit, and they got a post about it there as well. Interesting. I guess
I think somebody may have put an error in that. It's probably like the producer
it looks like they're using different streamers for each deal, because I clicked another one and it was a different streamer. It was like Miramasa. So go check out the Rocket League subreddit, esports subreddit. You'll get more information there. I would rather not direct you in the wrong places, and you just go follow these random people who have nothing to do with Rocket League. Unless you're into, you know, discovering new people, then you can go check them out.
Well, Mira works for Dignitas, I thought.
Miramasa?
Or she's definitely a content creator within the Rocket League scene. That much I will tell you. I don't know that much.
I don't know, honestly.
So it'd be cool if they actually had streamers like covering different like qualifiers and whatnot. That would be kind of interesting. But again,
yeah.
Go listen. don't listen to us. Go read on your own, man.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Easy to look up, though. Just go check it out. I'm pretty sure you could Google Samsung Odyssey Rocket League, and you'd find all the information you need. But that, I think, about does it for that bit of news, unless there's anything else you want to discuss on that front. Pretty straightforward and simple, I'd say.
Yeah, we're not going to have too much on it until games start being played, I think.
Yeah. And it's the 27th today, so I think games are about to get underway, or they already have kind of started. So they're kind of finishing it up. But we're moving on to our next bit of news, and this one is a Psyonix community update. They posted this to the Rocket League subreddit, like the main subreddit, not the esports one. And just interesting. Perino, I didn't let you look at this beforehand. When you mentioned you hadn't looked at it yet, I was like, I'm not going to let you look at it. I just want to see what your expectations are for this announcement. What do you think? Like, when you see RL community update, what are your expectations in hearing that?
Okay, so again, thanks for throwing me under the bus. Again, I do apologize.
No. There's nothing wrong with you not having looked it up. It was one of those things that, like, I mean, you've been so busy this past week. Like, I don't blame you for not having seen it. It was just more one of those things that I thought it'd be fun to, get your beautiful, fresh thoughts on this, because I'm one of the people who I have already been kind of spoiled by it, but I went into it having expectations myself when I heard RL community update. I went in having expectations, and I'm just curious what yours were when you hear that word.
So, again, for the record, I saw that it happened. I saw a couple of tweets regarding that they said something. I do not know what the content of it is.
Yeah.
For stuff like this, so here's the thing, like, we've seen some noise on social media recently about people not having a direction for the game. Some people have said that Rocket League content has kind of fallen off. The game feels stale. It's losing players. The free-to-play wave has kind of subsided. So typically when something like this happens, at least historically, Psyonix will sort of throw a bone. But it's like never enough. So my expectations in it are going to be pretty low going in. Okay. I don't think they're going to say too much. Now, are we talking in terms of game content or RLCS content? Those are two very different things.
Community. Just
community.
The community.
Okay. So if we're including esports within the broader community, I don't know.
So think about it. This was posted on the Rocket League subreddit, not esports subreddit.
Yeah. So in that case, okay, so then it's more game driven stuff. There might be some RLCS stuff. Maybe it would have been its own announcement for starting dates. They would have put their own thing. So it's not
nothing,
that.
It's nothing about RLCS, really. They mention RLCS very briefly, but it's not.
Decals? They talk about decals?
Nope. You want me to go ahead and read it out for you? It's kind of long, but I want to go ahead and read it so that people get the full context of it all. Because I started looking through it, and I was like, what would I cherry pick from this that feels important? And I felt like it was just better to read the whole thing.
Okay. Go for it. Again, I'm going to say off the top, my expectations are relatively low. I don't think there's anything groundbreaking coming up in this, but go ahead. Blow my mind.
Awesome. Hello. Oh, and also this was posted by Psyonix Devon over on the Rocket League subreddit. And you can still go look it up. It's pinned at the very top of the subreddit. Hello, everyone. As the end of Season 3 approaches, I wanted to take some time to acknowledge the conversations happening around the Rocket League community recently. Let's kick this off with a chat about how and when we communicate with the community. For some time now, our cadence has followed the game update schedule, whether it's the start of a new season or a significant mid-season update. We tend to bundle our conversations with you in those updates. With Season 3, most of our game updates released after the start of the season were hotfix level, focused on addressing new bugs, making map rotation changes, and prepping the game for new content. Ultimately, this means the scope and significance of our conversations with you are directly tied to the scope and significance of the updates we release. There tends to be a lot of chatter and excitement around larger updates, but there's a tangible feeling of restlessness in the community when we're far removed from those major changes and additions. We're working on ways to address the communication gaps that have become more prevalent over the last couple of seasons. Some of this is going to be easy. It's been a while since we did an AMA in the subreddit, right? While other plans we have are going to take longer to share with you all. There's also been a lot of healthy conversation around what we're putting into our game updates, too. Since moving to free-to-play last year, we've added millions of new players to the Rocket League community. Players that approach our game from all sorts of perspectives, casual players who hop in Discord with their friends when life permits, dedicated competitive players who are pushing to be the next Doubles, SSL, or Rumble RNGenius, and everyone in between. We've introduced some really cool, unique partnerships and content into the game, and the return of community favorites in the spring and during our summer road trip have given new players the opportunity to share in the excitement experienced by our veteran community members going back to the game's launch. We've added competitive tournaments, made meaningful changes to the item trading system, and brought Rocket Labs back into the mix. Over the last 10 months, we've strived to add content and features that appeal to a wide, growing, and diverse community. While we release new features and quality of life adjustments alongside our growing content library, this subreddit, our Discord, and our social pages are full of suggestions, ideas, and maybe a few rants focused on pushing Rocket League even further. Right now, our resources are committed to Rocket League Sideswipe, and related initiatives that we aren't ready to talk about yet. This means our development bandwidth is split in a number of different ways, which is why new content in the item shop tends to outpace new features and changes to existing features and systems. There is no easy solve for this, but we want to acknowledge that we've heard you in user-generated content and other social-focused game features. While we can't promise anything, we are planning and pushing on some of the more prominent requests like improved voice chat. More on that later. We'll be talking about what's coming with Season 4 in early August. A ton of community requested stuff is incoming, including tournament improvements, tweaks to casual and competitive playlists, several brand new LTMs. I'm not sure what LTMs means. Limited time modes. Gotcha. Adjustments to game bans, and some really cool stuff coming to the esports shop in RLCS. Once Season 4 has officially begun, expect to see more conversations driven by us about what dropped in Season 4 and what might be in store for Season 5. And that's the end. So initial thoughts from you.
It's not much. I mean, yeah, my bar was low, and I think they came in probably right around where I set my bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult to tie in the development of actual game features versus simply things like pumping out cosmetics. I figure that part is kind of obvious. Maybe to some people it isn't.
It's one of those things that I feel like it needs to be said often because people don't seem to understand that.
Yeah, the classic, why is there a new Rocket Pass when we can't get a new... Because, yeah, it's definitely the same people working on it. Yeah, I mean, improved voice chat is interesting. I don't really know if that's what we need. I don't know. You tell me, Ryan. I don't really foresee voice chat being a priority ever for this game.
I think I would use it. I do a lot of solo queuing, so I think I would probably end up trying to use it personally.
Have you played Six Mans before?
No.
Like in the Six Mans Discord?
No.
Bro, you don't want to listen to people who play this game. I'm going to tell you from experience, man. It's not great. People suck.
I don't know. I think that Six Mans is different from just a regular old ranked game. Like I feel like I've come across plenty of people, though, who just don't care. I feel like I've come across a lot more people at the champ rank who don't really care. Because they know that they're so... At least for like where I am right now, rank-wise... Because you're so far removed from the next rank, which is GC. Like, you're so far removed that you know that there's really not a whole lot to gain by winning one game. And so, I feel like personally, like, my, like, more toxic people have dissipated. But I think personally, I think I would at least give it a try, just to see. I think that it's a little bit different if people can hear you, too. I think if like you recognize that like other people are listening to you as well, you may kind of pull back a little bit. And I recognize that could be a wrong thought, but I found that if I'm like actually speaking to someone, I tend to like hold some of my punches back more.
Yeah, and there's a lot of discussion about that in terms of toxicity. So the problem is that we're so deep into the, development of this game. It's came out, what, 2015, 2016? It's been 5 or 6 years, give or take.
Yeah.
Pretty much anybody who's been solo queuing for any significant portion of that time, I don't really foresee voice comms adding too much. I mean, I guess I'm glad
there's definitely times that I think it would help.
It'd be nice to have the option. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the current voice comms are so bad. They're unusable. I mean, they're actually legitimately unusable. I think it would benefit people who tend to play cross-platform. So if you have a friend on PlayStation but you play on PC, an in-game way to talk to that person, I think, is very useful.
Yeah.
We don't have to go to
Fortnite
a third-party
has
app.
that, and it's right. It works pretty well. I think if you can talk with your teammates, it's helpful. I think if you can talk to the opponents, then it's kind of okay, that's a little weird. But I think if you could actually calm with your, I think if you can actually calm with your teammates, I think that there's a higher likelihood that you'll be able to, kind of work through your play mid game and stuff. But all that aside, that's voice chat's kind of getting into the thick of it. But my biggest thing with this is it feels like it was a post to sort of appease the masses of hey, we hear you, and we're gonna try and talk to you more, and it's cool, good to know that you're gonna try and talk to us more, but it's where's this been? Why does it feel like there's been so much less communication between us and you, especially when that was a big focal point whenever Rocket League first started, of just that community interaction and the way that they kind of worked with people in the community. I mean, there's a couple times where they've done community initiatives that I'm kind of I kind of look at it and I'm I don't feel like that looks like a community initiative. I feel like it's what you think is a community initiative, which, I mean, it's okay, but it's just I'm happy to know that they're going to try and open up the avenue of communication between them and us again, and hopefully they are more frequent with it. Their communication with us, and I kind of understand they say they're only talking to us really whenever updates roll out, which is okay, but it's never in a conversational format. It's just hey, this is what's coming out. See you in a couple months. That's always what it's kind of felt like, and so I don't feel like that's been a conversation. I don't feel like that's been a, we hear what you're saying, we hear your thoughts on these issues and concerns. So I'm glad to know that they're starting to, take a look at things again with the community, because I mean, again, that's where it all started, is with the community. The community is part of what helped blow the game up so much, and it feels like the community's kind of been shafted in terms of being able to talk with Psyonix. And I understand the community's bigger now. It's different. It's a different time. But again, an AMA on the subreddit, it's when's the last time you did that?
Yeah, I think the problem is that it's car soccer. and I don't mean to be demeaning, but unless there's something dramatic that they're changing to the game, what's there to really talk about? I mean, sure, you can talk, okay, limited time game modes, or, fixing tournaments, which was a big priority for them this past year, which they did do, and I think the new tournaments are much better. The trade-up system that they implemented, sure, those are good things, and I'm glad that they're in the game now and they've been developed, but what are they going to say? I don't say that to be a cynic, but truly, think about it. If you're a Rocket League developer, what is there to work on in the game exactly? The truth is that they can't really change that much about it. The physics engine,
and I'm not talking about changing Rocket League itself so much. I'm talking more about just their communication with us feels like it's just been it's gotten noticeably less and less and less and less. Where, they used to put out roadmaps, and then they just completely stopped doing it. When's the last time we got a roadmap that lets us know hey, these are things that we're looking to try and release to you guys in the coming months. Instead, it's been just like, here's the new update, go crazy. But it's like I can't think of the last time that an update has happened that I've gotten really excited about for this game. And I still love Rocket League, don't get me wrong, but it feels like whenever I first got into Rocket League and when it was earlier in its life, it feels like when they did updates, it felt big and grand, and it felt like something everybody in the community got excited for. Whereas now it doesn't feel like there's ever that day of excitement in terms of something new coming to the game. And again, it is car soccer. How much can you really change on it? I understand that. But, in terms of like being able to release a new map, I mean, we've gotten reskins of old maps. We haven't actually gotten like a new map in quite some time. And it's like getting a new map used to be like a really exciting thing for people, and it's like that hasn't even happened in a while.
Yeah, the last one was that one that nobody wants to play on with the well, oh my god, I can't remember the name of it, but it's one.
Oh,
with,
you're
like,
talking about that one
the
that's like Outrun vibes?
Yeah, it's like
that's like
Cyberpunk.
hard as hell to play on because you can't see.
Because you
it
can't
has
see
like
anything.
Horrible depth perception on it.
Yeah, the one that everybody complained about being competitive, and
it
they're
was
like, "All right, we'll get it out."
That was a horrible one.
So I mean, they are
one
making
of those
stuff,
things that like it looked cool, but it was just like,
oh, it was awful to play on.
I don't like, and that was one of the things too that I kind of looked at. I was like, did you even have pros try out this map? Did you even have like people who play serious Rocket League like try this out to kind of give you feedback and be like, hey, like this is really hard to track the ball on. Like this is not a very good map, honestly, in terms of like playability. It looked really nice. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was a really cool look. Whenever I first saw a screenshot, I was like, oh, cool, that looks awesome. Then I got into it, and I was like, this is garbage. I can't play on this.
Yeah, and that's inherently the issue, right? I mean, we can kind of sum it up right there. It's so Psyonix like puts out something that is really different, really unique, like aesthetically like very pleasing, has a great, motif behind it. It's really cool, but you can't play the game on it. And at the end of the day, that's all people care about, really. It can I still play the game with this? And the answer with that map in particular was no. So we don't even won't even talk about it. It's like Salty Shores Day, the same thing. Personally, Salty Shores Night, which is in the current rotation now, is amazing. I think it's actually the best map in the game. Mm-hmm. The day one is horrible. You can't see a thing on it. And
it's so bright.
Again, very beautiful map making, sure, but you can't play the game. And at the end of the day, that's kind of the dilemma. Is you have to engineer every decision around still being able to play the game as it always has been played, and that's really difficult because it boxes you in. Yeah. And so if you're Psyonix, you're like, okay, well, we tried something really different, and everyone hated it because we can't play it. We put out, a new map, like the Dueling Fates. No. What's the one from the China update?
Forbidden Temple.
Forbidden Temple, thank you. Yeah, I'm so bad with the names of the maps, man. Don't quiz me on that.
I don't even remember if that's the actual name, but I'm going with it.
It sounds correct, so we're gonna stick with it. But like Forbidden Temple is like a great map, and again, but it's still kind of just followed like a standard map design. You know what I mean? Like now it's like you don't even think about it.
But it was one of those things too that like when it released, I got excited because I was like, that's a really cool map. Like I'm excited to play on it and stuff. But it was like, even for the NASCAR one, it was like they just did a reskin. They didn't give you anything new. And it's just like, okay, I mean, it was kind of cool. It's not exactly the best looking map, but whatever, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, it feels like it's one of those things where, they're not really talking to the community at the end of the day. And some of the biggest things that the community has asked for are things like having a workshop system, having a way for people to share, some custom-made maps. If anything, at least like grab some of Lethamir's maps and just kind of throw them in to appease some people, because all of his maps look great. They look fantastic. You know, and if anything, you know, you can take those maps, he can give you the basic design, and then you can fix them. You can add on to them, update them a bit more. You know, Lethamir makes these by himself pretty quickly. You gotta imagine if, you know, you get a team of people on it, they could probably knock out a couple of those maps pretty fast and just say, hey, here's a limited time Lethamir rotation of maps or something like that. You know, anything. But it's like that has been such a big thing that the community has been wanting, is stuff like that, because, you know, PC, it's great because you have access to all that stuff regardless. But if you're on any console, you're not touching any of that because you can't. You don't have the ability to. And I don't know, it just feels like that's one that has been asked for so long. And it's like they're just now starting to be like, hey, we hear all y'all's suggestions, or we just want to let you know that we hear all your suggestions. We're looking into some of them. Some of them are coming. But it's like, okay, where was this, you know, a couple months ago? You know, you've had so much time to be able to try and talk with the community, and it just, I am just bothered by it because it feels like since I started playing, I have seen such a noticeable digression and breakdown in community communications, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, I remember, again, when we were doing the show many moons ago, when we would have these same kinds of discussions about, you know, where Psyonix wants to go with their communication, the way they talk to the community. You know, we've always said that, hey, we would love to have someone from Psyonix on and, you know, just sort of, you know, hang out and put something out there and talk about the game. But they're, I feel as though Psyonix are very much perfectionists in the sense that when they do things, they always aim to do things in a very complete way. Everything is very methodical. It's very growth based. You know, it's quality first.
Yeah.
So for something like, for example, let's say, you know, like a workshop system where people can, or like a creative mode is the other way that I've heard it phrased. You know, where you can like make your own maps and publish them and share them with your friends. And there's like an in-game, you know, compatibility with cross-platform and everything. Blah blah blah. That's a huge feature. And even if it's under development, I mean, they could be working on it right now.
Yeah.
If it was, they would not tell us for a long time. Just because they want to be able to say it. They want to be able to say, okay, we've been working on this. Here's what it looks like. It's going to release in the next seasonal update. And that's that. So they're never really going to come out and say, like, oh, we hear you on the whole, you know, map making thing. We're going to do it.
Yep.
It's going to take a while, but we're going to do it. Let's even say, okay, they're starting it now. It's going to take 2 years, let's say, to put that in. Again, that would be a huge feature. Maybe 2 years is a bit much, but
having a map making feature and system is a huge undertaking. And it's not one of those things that, like, I'm sitting here expecting them to put it in overnight, like you're saying, but it's just, you know, that you hear us, at least.
But let's just say, for example, they said, okay, in 2 years, you know, 2 summers from now, we're going to put out this new system. People are just going to harass them about it constantly. And if there's any kind of delay, if things don't work on release, like, they're just going to get hammered for it. So for them, you know, I guess, not that I'm arguing for Psyonix at this point, but to them, like, what's the benefit?
Need to put out a, like, here's when it's coming type thing. You know, they can say, like, future, you know, potential items for the future. Something. And, I mean, I don't even know that you have to go that far, but at least bring back, like, the roadmap updates. Those were so nice because it gave you something to look forward to as a player of, like, hey, here's some good content or here's some really nice updates that are coming, and I can expect them around this, you know, time of year and stuff. And I would just be happy enough to get that line of communication back. But it's gone, and it hasn't been seen in a while, it feels like. And it's just kind of like, okay, like, now it just feels like they're like, okay, within the season this will happen type thing. But they don't give you like a time frame for it. It just suddenly appears one day, and you're like, oh, that's here already. Okay, I didn't know that. So it's like there's no chance to get excited about it. Part of the excitement and updates and stuff is knowing what's coming. And half the time, like whenever they first dropped the NASCAR and F1 stuff, it was like they mentioned it at the start of the season. They're like, those collaborations are coming. But then it's like you don't even know when it hits until it just hits. Like, I just hopped in game one day, and it was like, oh, that's here. I had no clue. I had no clue that F1 dropped today or NASCAR dropped today. It was just suddenly like, oh, it's here. And it's like, how's anybody supposed to get excited over that? How are you supposed to get excited over something when you have no clue when it's coming? And it's like, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. The collaborations are amazing. They have been so wonderful to see. But it's just like, at least let people know when it's coming so they can, like, you know, get excited about it in some capacity. But it just feels like they've just dropped off so bad with communication. And I mean, there's so many things I could say on, you know, their communication with the community as a whole. But I feel like I would just start going in circles. And it's biggest thing for me is just, it's frustrating that it feels like it's taken so long for them to finally acknowledge, hey, the community wants you to come back and like join them in conversation, not be this removed entity like they used to be. And I agree with you on a lot of what you said there of, you know, they are perfectionists and stuff, but I will also push back on it of when they do have a mistake, sometimes they're really, really horrible about acknowledging the mistake. Sometimes they're
tournaments on the first release.
Exactly. Sometimes they're and even after it just wasn't working, it just wasn't functioning. It wasn't. You couldn't go view the tournaments. You couldn't do anything, and it was just like, that's so frustrating as a player when it feels like they're just not even acknowledging it. And then they keep saying like, oh, we're fixing it, or it's fixed, and then it's like 2 days later it's broken again, and it's like, at least like talk to us about that. You know, at least just like drop something. Drop us a nugget somewhere, just anything that lets us know that you are on the case. I don't care how long it takes you to do the fix and stuff. It's just knowing that you're doing it. And I'm not saying that Psyonix isn't doing these things, but, you know, just saying it goes a long way. Just saying that you're working on something goes a long way. The fact that they're actually looking at voice communication and fixing it, that makes me happy. I could care less when it shows up. It could be here 2 years from now. I don't care. It's just nice to know that it's a feature that's coming. That's all I need. And I think that's all that most people need.
I think my opinion is somewhat biased by the fact that I have been horribly busy lately, and I've personally been really bad at getting back to people on certain things. So part of me is just like, whatever. You know what I mean? I
understand that.
I do feel somewhat removed from it. But yeah, I guess it's just for me personally. I maybe just don't care as much. In truth, you know, it fundamentally, like, Rocket League's never going to change, right? It will always be the competitive 3v3, 2v2, 1v1. Like, you know, fundamentally, the game's never going to change so much. Things around it will change, but at its core, it is what it is. There's no going back or forward on it, really. And in that sense, for me, it's like, well, okay, like, I'm still happy playing the game for what it is. Yeah. Apparently, other people are not. I mean, you know, like, some people just getting the end of the rope.
I will say that I think we as a community, not we as a community because I disagreed with it entirely, but I think a lot of the community really shut down of some avenues of creativity for Psyonix when we just did away with non-standard maps. The second that we entirely did away with non-standard maps in ranked and stuff, I think that they shut down a lot of creative freedom that Psyonix could have had. I mean, think of how much more maps and stuff we would be getting if people in the community hadn't shut that down so hard. Personally, I like those maps a lot because I think that it adds a new layer to that competitive aspect of the game. And that's just me. I know that not everybody feels that way, but again, I think the community really kind of shot itself in the foot to an extent with that regard.
Yeah, well, I would say it's even similar to the we talked about the season rewards last episode for the decals. It's the same thing. Like, everybody complains that they look the same. They're all the same colors. Nothing's changed on them, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and then the one time they didn't do that, everyone had an aneurysm and said that the rewards were terrible and nobody's going to use them. And it's like, well, then you just can't win, can you?
So well, at that point, you're essentially saying it doesn't matter what you do. It just sucks. And it's like, okay, well, I can say that to an extent I agree. I don't think it's entirely just Psyonix's fault that communication is sort of stagnated. I will say the community has been fairly ungrateful in several things. And I hope that the community changes in that regard. It's really annoying when people just complain about every little detail. Like, I see so many people who are still like, servers suck. I'm like, at this point, it's your ISP, dude. Like, at this point,
servers have gotten a lot better over time.
At this point, it's you. It's not them. It's you. Get off Wi-Fi, hardwire your console or PC, and play the game, for God's sakes. Or get a better ISP. Those are your options, because at this point, like, their servers are entirely playable. Yeah, I still see people all the time who want to sit there and be like, oh, it's your servers suck. Fix those. Stop releasing, new decals. It's like, okay, first off, you're dumb for thinking those are even the same department. Secondly, everything I just said before that.
Yeah, I will say it is rare for me these days that I find a genuinely bad server. They do exist.
They do exist, but they are few and far between from what they used to be.
And it's so much better than when it was.
Yeah.
That too. It used to be half the time the game was unplayable at certain hours. Just the cloud servers in particular, the virtual servers,
something else.
used to be. I mean, they can still be kind of iffy, but they used to be so much worse. Right, exactly. So, yeah, there's only so much you can do, I think, from Psyonix's end. At the end of the day, they are kind of boxed into what they are, and that is a good thing in some respects and a bad thing in others. But again, only so much you can do.
Yeah. Oh, well, I feel like I have stood on my soapbox very long for this. Is there anything else that you would like to add to this conversation?
Game sucks. Uninstall. Let's continue.
Game sucks. You suck.
Yes. Yeah. There you go. Now you got it.
Yeah. Now I get it. I'm getting in that Twitter mindset. I get it now. But
we need to go to our next segment, please.
All right, let's move on to the roster shuffle. So we have first bit of information for the rosters is Tigray is leaving the White Demons, or has left the White Demons. They're in EU. I'm not entirely sure where we'll end up seeing him go. I can't say that I really remember a whole lot from him. I don't feel like he was really one of those standout players this season.
So I was actually, as we were going to this story, I was about to pull up his Wikipedia because I wanted to get some, recent analysis. And, it's tough for a lot of the players in EU right now, I think, just because there's so much volatility in the season. Hard to find teams, that are consistently good. So just like the last big event, for the spring EU major, they finished in the 9th and 10th spot, and it's been fairly consistent with them through the EU season of RLCS-X. I don't know. He's a good player. But it's a really difficult landscape right now, as you said. I'm not really sure where he's going to go.
Yeah, I'm looking at their past results, and really, in Season X, they just really didn't. That squad just really didn't perform all that well. They walk, when he was a part of Fadeaway, it was 9th, 16th, 13th, 17th, 24th, 5 to 8th. 5/8, 5/8, 9/12. Out of all the bigger tournaments, he just wasn't. White Demons really weren't performing as a whole there. So I don't know. I'm curious to see where he ends up. I'm curious to see what type of squad he joins in with. And again, I can't speak too much to his skill level anymore, just because I really, with how much Rocket League there was this season, it was so hard for me to keep up with North America, let alone anything else.
Yeah, and also EU was kind of difficult because it was basically just BDS winning everything.
Yeah,
and there was
it got really
so much...
uninteresting to watch EU because of that.
Yeah, and it wasn't until the very end when Vitality came and knocked them off their throne. But
like that was interesting. But it was like that was the first bit of interest I had like really shown in EU in the whole season, really.
Yeah, it just makes it again difficult for player around that level to really make a move. I hope the best for him.
Yeah.
He's been around a while. I'm looking at again, sorting his results by tier. He's been since RLCS season 6 with believe he was subbing for Mouse.
There's just so much. There's so many.
I don't know. He's been around a long time.
There's so many players though for EU that it's just like you kind of wonder where some of them are gonna go. I mean, I'm just looking through the rumors page right now, and it's like Chaussette, Scrub Killa, Tho, Oily, Violent Panda, like Joryus, apparently Jack, Cash, Reeziers. Like, there's so many players who it's just like you have no clue what the heck is going to end up with some of them. So, I mean, who knows? Will definitely be interesting. But moving on to the next bit of news, Percy, formerly of Alpine Esports, has joined Xset. That is a pretty solid move, I would say. Great pickup, honestly, for Xset.
Yes, I think Percy is a great player. I agree. I think it's awesome for Xset. Is it enough to put them into that next bracket? Maybe not. Will they do better than they did last season? I think so. I think Percy will provide a bit more of that consistency. Xset was a team that was really up and down. They really started to hit their stride towards the later end of RLCS. Definitely more in the spring, later end of winter. We started to really see, what they could be. I think with Percy, it'll help them, maintain some stability, towards the top end of the North American RLCS. And I think it's great for them to get that.
Yeah, Percy just packs so much of an offensive punch that he's going to help them out tremendously. And for those of you who don't know, Percy is replacing Alpha Kep on that roster, so he now joins J-Pow and Hoxer to make the new Xset squad. So very exciting. Huge pickup for Xset. That's definitely going to help them, I believe, as they go into Season 11. Moving on to the next bit, Stake, Itachi, and Astral are picked up by Carmine Corp in their first foray into Rocket League. So this is super exciting. They actually announced it in front of like a live crowd on broadcast and stuff, like to 120,000 viewers.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, it was like after their League of Legends team played or something is when they made the announcement. So I was like, that's super cool to go about it that way.
Yeah, I, again, will admit that I do not know anything about this organization.
No clue about this organization myself.
They have 166,000 followers on Twitter, so they must do
decent
something.
They must have something going on.
Okay, well, it looks like they do League. Okay, so they're probably in the LEC would be my guess. Yeah, but I just don't know that much about them. Cool.
Just cool. Yeah. Another big organization coming in, There we go.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
We do love that. Yeah, I also, again, I'm literally just scrolling on their Twitter page right now. As you can probably see the change in my lighting setup when I go, dark mode
podcast
always,
listeners
people.
Can't see it, so who cares?
Hey, listen, good for those guys for getting paid. That's a big thing. We always celebrate a young man getting paid or a young group of men getting paid. And that's what's happening there.
Yeah, definitely exciting to have another organization joining, especially one as big as Carmine Corp. So very excited for that. And then moving on to our final bit of roster news. Top Blokes are, this isn't really a roster bit of information, but just worth mentioning. Top Blokes have rebranded to Semper Esports. Not a whole lot there. I think Semper is, or I think that has to do with like the organization that's financially backing them as to why they rebranded.
Yeah, because they did the weird thing where they didn't they weren't.
Yeah, they didn't join an
by a
organization,
brand.
but they got financial backing. It was a weird situation.
So, Semper is a cool name.
Yeah, it's cool.
I'll give them that. It bothers me that they, at least the way that we have it in our show notes here, they capitalized the S in esports.
They didn't. I didn't see. I didn't see it. I just like typed whatever, and I think it auto corrected to that.
Oh my.
You can ignore
there
it.
was.
You can ignore it.
Okay. I'm ignoring it.
I meant like you can change it if you want, but other than that, you can ignore it. If you feel
I'm
inclined
ignoring
to
it, right?
change our notes, you know, go ahead, do what makes you happy. I see you highlighting it here in the notes. Just make the changes and move on.
I did it. You said to ignore it, so now I did it, and I'm ignoring it.
Good God.
It's the one thing that really gets me. It's so ugly, and not even that. But I say recently, maybe like a month or two ago.
Didn't the like
yeah, it was like
Associated
Oxford
Press-
Dictionary, or yeah, that's what it was. It was APA, I think, the people who do the
Associated
citation
Press.
format.
AP
Yeah.
News.
Mm-hmm. They were the ones that came out and said that for esports, there's no capitalization of the S in it. It's lowercase, and it's all one word, no dash, no nothing. Esports. It's like email. We've been saying this for a long time. So it's how we do it. Either you capitalize it as part of a title, or it's just all lowercase, no dash, no nothing. Simple, easy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think they just did what they were like makes the most sense. But yeah. So there you go. Semper Esports for Top Blokes. That concludes our roster shuffle. So we have about like 8-ish minutes left, Perino. So I will let you pick among our last two which one you think we could probably discuss more quickly, unless you have a third option that I don't know about.
Oh, I don't know, Ryan. I'm taking a look at our subjects here. And I like a bit more of an open-ended one. I think this one will spark some creativity within us, some content for the podcast. What changes do you want to see in the 11th season of RLCS? Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
I feel like I have done a lot of talking this episode, and I apologize for that, but I will let you go first.
Okay, so for the 11th season of RLCS, the first and inherently most obvious answer to this question is LANs. Now, I understand that there are some difficulties and some consternation behind actually hosting LAN events these days, but obviously it would be a tremendous improvement. It would give the spectator experience back,
Fortunately, we're probably not going to have them.
Overall experience, I know.
Because did you see though what Epic said about LANs for any of their titles?
Yeah,
there's a couple.
They're not looking at it till like mid 2022 or something.
Yeah,
like
mid
that.
2022 is the earliest that they will allow them to start going again. But that's going to be after they even decide if they want to allow it. So the odds of us having LANs in the next season, as much as I want it to, I'm holding my breath on it.
Right. So outside of LANs, because again, I do think that is the easiest and obvious best form of improvement.
Yeah.
I think one of the big things is I think they should pick a method for the regionals and stick with it. We saw like a Swiss format. We saw group play into a single elimination bracket. We saw all sorts of different combinations of formats. I think if you want to help improve it, I think you should take one of those and stick to it. I know a lot of people were a fan of the spring format, which I believe was
The double
believe
elimination. Like
double
groups
elimination.
to double elimination, I believe.
Yep. I know a lot of people were big on that. Personally, I'm actually huge on the Swiss system from the fall. I know it's a bit more complex, but I think it offers the best competitive experience in that regard.
Yeah.
So I'd really like to see them go with that. In any event, I think you have to just pick one and stick with it. I would think it was really confusing at times to follow a different regional event and then not know exactly what the format was going to be. I'm glad that they did some experimentation in this season. For next season, I think they should pick one and stick to it. Bring the grid back, please, because reasons that are beneficial to Ryan and I. But being serious, not only bring it back, but also again, spring split grid I thought was great. Going back to like the traditional league play style and having that set schedule, with a playoff bracket at the end. Now, obviously, the timings of those days could have been a little bit better, but I think that format for the grid was great. I would bring that back and have that set for all three splits. Just do it the league play style. Get teams to qualify in. It's like you retain so many spots in between the things, and that would be those would be my big things. I think I covered a lot there, Ryan. What do you think?
You did.
What are some changes you would like to see? That's a bit of ground for me.
If we could get lands, I think that would be the biggest improvement. I fully agree with you. I am also just really worried that they're not going to bring them back for any reason. I still think that you can do it all safely at this point. I mean, they're doing the Olympics, for God's sakes. I think you can run a LAN with, less than 100 people. Or, around 100 people. I think you can do that. I think you can fully do that, and people will be safe. That said, LANs aside, I kind of agree with you to an extent about the format. I kind of liked that they made it different so that it was like, if one team really benefited from one style, they couldn't continue to benefit from that style of tournament. I think it did a really good job of showing, like, who is at the top consistently. Like, I think that BDS was, the prime example here of, like, it didn't matter what the format was. They were proving that they were just the better team, regardless. And I think that several teams, kind of did that for North America as well. I think, our top three in Envy, SSG, and Energy, I think that they did a really good job of showing why they're the best. It doesn't matter about the format. They were just better. But that said, teams like Rogue, for instance, really benefited in the winter because of that double elimination format. They would just, once they got on a roll, they would just cruise through those brackets. And so I like that they changed it. I think that the first two, Fall and Winter, I was a huge fan of. I thought they both did a pretty good job. They felt fair. The last one I didn't like as much. I didn't like the spring format quite as much. It felt unfair because it felt like you could do really well the first 2 days, and then or the first 3 days, but then it was like the final day could be the one part where you stumble and fall, and it doesn't matter. You're just out. Like, because I think like, because I remember it affected Envy pretty bad. There was like they did phenomenal the first 3 days, and they just stumbled in their first matchup on the fourth day, and they're immediately out. They didn't lose a single game leading up to that point, whereas their opponents had already lost 2 by the time they got there. And it was just like, that feels really unfair that you can do kind of poorly the first 2 days and then still benefit very heavily in the last day if you're just on that day. And I get it, you need to be on in order to win. It makes sense, but I don't know. That was the one thing I didn't like. And then the last thing that I really would like is for them to add the Middle East or Asia region. I would really love to see them finally be brought into the fold.
See, come in there with the curveball at the end. I think it would be good. I I do wonder about the competitive level of those regions. I without Worlds, and I'm operating under the assumption that in this instance, we do not have a Worlds final again, which would be again criminal. But without that international experience, I think it's really difficult. If you can, I would really only want to bring in other regions if you give them the opportunity to compete fairly against the best of North America, EU, etc. Otherwise,
really, you don't want to try and start giving them the chance to have consistent competition beforehand. Well, even if they can't,
I don't think anybody will watch.
Even if they can't compete against, any of the other regions, I would just, if anything, I would like to start giving, one or both. I know they're probably only going to pick one, but I would like to at least start giving one of them some RLCS exposure. I think that, how many people are going to watch live, that is a big question to ask. But I think they could also do some really cool stuff like they did with OCE, where it was they did the Ford freestyle or the gridiron thing, and then they did that broadcast to capture a lot of North American viewers and EU viewers, and then as soon as they finished, they threw it right over to RLCS OCE. I thought that was a really cool way. I think they could do more stuff like that. You could do the same thing with, Asia or Middle East as well. But I think just, bringing them into the fold and making them feel like they're a part of the community and that they are starting to get support from Psyonix, I think would just go a long way. So even if they don't get the higher level competition, just I think having something established so that you don't have anybody quit who could be an otherwise good player or a great player for the region because there's just no support.
Yeah, I don't think it's likely that we'll see a new region this year.
You think?
I don't know. I don't know if the competition's there behind it. I
bet you $50 that they bring in a new region. I bet you $50.
I'll bet you.
Here, let's bet like a pizza.
Okay, I'll bet you a pizza.
One large pizza. We'll do that.
Sure. I'll bet you a pizza that they're not going to add a new region prior to the start of season 11.
And I bet you a pizza that they will.
Okay, we'll see.
We'll have to wait and see. The pizza bet.
There's no good pizza around me, man. I'm gonna have. If I win, I don't even get that much. I'm in Philadelphia.
I mean, aren't you guys supposed to have some of the best pizza?
Well,
am I not remembering the place that does pizza well correctly?
So,
I thought you guys up north were supposed to have amazing pizza or something.
So, I mean, it's mostly more if you go up further along the East Coast. When you start heading more towards as much as it disgusts me to say it, northern Jersey, New York City, that's more renowned for pizza specifically. There are good spots in Philadelphia, but I'm kind of a snob. I grew up in a very close-knit Italian community, up in New England. There was a lot of New York, Boston influence. We had good pizza. We have great pizza, at home. So I'm kind of a pizza snob, and it's not that great here. I have yet to find a place in the city that makes a really good pizza. There's a place couple blocks down from me that is super local.
Yeah.
They don't even open their store up to anyone. It's you have to walk up to the window to get it, that kind of thing. You can't even call ahead or yeah. So it's very local.
Weird.
And everyone says oh yeah, it's so good, it's so good. It's solid. It's good for what it is, but it's so expensive, and it's man, this is medium quality pizza for a high tier price.
I'll PayPal you money for whatever pizza you want if you're right.
Okay. Sorry. You got me on a subject that I love to talk about, Ryan. Sorry.
We should just have a pizza tier list one day as a special.
Oh, stop it with the tier lists.
Oh, come on. It'd be fun.
We're gonna do some kind of tier list on this show.
We should do that. Maybe that's what our specials should be, is either interviews or just content. That's what we should do.
Oh, God. You want me to organize a tier list for you, man? I'm going to be brutal.
We'll have to discuss this at a later point in time. But guys,
What?
that is going to do it here for today's episode. Thank you very much for joining us here today. Once again, be sure to follow us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, or any of the podcast services that you follow us on or that you listen to us on. That way you can stay up to date with new episodes as they drop. Again, we drop episodes every Thursday. We're recording on Tuesdays, so, if it's a little bit outdated information, we're sorry. But other than that, you can follow me at PWR_Ryan. You can follow him at Perino TV on Twitter. I don't have our stuff here.
It's okay.
I'll
it's
add
for
it
the listeners.
Yeah.
Eventually.
New overlay and stuff, and I have not completely finished it. And you can also follow us at PWR_leagues over on Twitter as well. If you have any questions or anything that you would like to, or topics you would like for us to discuss on the show, be sure to mention us using that handle, and we will happily consider adding it to the show. But other than that, this has been Around the Scene, presented to you by Playing with Rockets. I'm Ryan, that's Perino, and it has been our pleasure to serve you here today. Take care, enjoy the rest of your day, stay safe, and be sure to wash those hands. See you guys.